Alright, I'm out here on the desert today. It's a nice day, middle of January, but the weather has been real mild. So I'm out here. Behind me you can see an old mine. It's a mine and a mill that was a gold mine. There was gold located in the base of these hills. So I've already been out hunting a little bit, but I haven't found really anything. There's also, because there's a mill here, there was a small town. So there's the opportunity to find both gold nuggets and relics. I've done a little relic hunting. I'm going to switch over and do some gold nugget hunting right now. Now, the mines around here were mostly lode mines, but the thing you got to remember is that a lot of lode mines, including these, were located by miners finding placer deposits first. So once the placer deposits were found, most of the time what they did was follow it to the lode, and then they would hard rock mine it. Placer gold is considered poor man's gold. A lot of the time they would just skip over that once they found the source and start going for the main vein. So what I've got here is the dais, and I wanted to go over some setup on it. There are quite a few functions that are available in the Goldfield program on the dais that can be used, and I wanted to show how to optimize those, especially if you're looking for small gold. So stay tuned, I'll be right back and we'll go over those. Okay, I've got a few things laid out here. Now, because I mentioned that we were in an area where there used to be some buildings, and so with that comes trash. So what I got here is I've got a nail. I've got a small vial right here with a piece of gold in it. You can see it in there. It's pretty small. What I'm doing is just placing it basically on top of the ground, pressing it in. It makes the nugget probably 3/4 of an inch deep. And then over here I've got a piece of tin. So I've got those on there because I wanted to show you the importance of the discrimination system that is built into the Goldfield program. It's the iron amplitude rejection, I believe, was what that stands for, IAR. And so one of the first things I wanted to do is show you how that works. And that's one of the settings you're going to possibly want to use if you're in a trashy area. So if you get your dais and you go into the menu setting, go down to disk. Let's just go over it at 0 first, we'll show you. So here's the nail. Very loud response. If we turn the disc up a little bit, we'll just go to 1. We probably want to use as little discrimination as possible on this. So let's go back over the nail at 1. And you notice how that's broken that up. And then let's go over here to the piece of tin. And for the most part you can tell that that's pretty broken up as well. So then what we would do is we can go over the nugget and see if the nugget's still there. Still getting the nugget. Barely, but it is coming through. So let me show you. I'm going to come back with a couple more functions here that we can go through that I want to show you on this. Correct way to set up your dais when you're out gold nugget hunting. I will be right back. Alright, so one of the first things you want to do when you get to a site is do a ground balance on this. So if you notice here down on the bottom, the ground balance is currently set up at 90. Up here is what the ground would read. In order to do a ground balance, what you do is you just push this button on the dais and hold it and pump the coil up and down. And we've got a reading of 84.85. So if you kept pumping it, it'd probably equal out. You notice also when you pump it, the mineralization bar will change on that. Next thing you would do, if I'm hunting small gold, I probably want to use a higher frequency, and I'm going to show you a difference between frequencies here. So currently we're at 14, Now let's go over the nugget. You can tell it's there, but let's change frequencies. So let's go up to 30, 31. Pretty good improvement. Let's go up even more, up to 54. I'd say even more improvement on that. So higher the frequency, the better you're going to pick up smaller items, smaller low conductive items such as a gold nugget. Another thing we can do to maybe improve our detectability of small items is go down here to, well, so reactivity. I personally would leave the reactivity at 2. Now if you got into some very mineralized soil, you could change that higher, 2.5, 3, even 4 or 5 on the dais. The ORX goes up to 3, so you've got all the way to 3 to use. But when you turn your reactivity up, what you're doing is making the performance a little bit better in mineralized soil. It's able to pick out a non-ferrous item amongst those minerals better. So the next thing we want to look at here is threshold. Threshold is a matter of preference. If you turn the threshold up, you're going to get a slight hum. And if you can hear that, you'll hear your threshold humming now. Now some people like that, some people like a quiet threshold. With a threshold running, you can get into a situation where you get a very deep target, and because the threshold changes, you might investigate it. Whereas if it's not a strong enough signal and doesn't give you a response on your machine, you might skip it over. So that's something to think about. We're going to turn that back down to 0 for now. Auto response. Now auto response is the response from the target in the ground. So the lower the audio response, the more modulated the audio is going to be. The higher the audio response, the less modulated it's going to be. The problem with changing that to a higher number is that if you're in mineralized ground, which in most cases gold fields are in mineralized ground, you're going to start amplifying the minerals as well. So right now we're running at 2. I'm probably even picking up a little bit of mineralization right there. But watch what happens if I turn it up. Let's just turn it all the way up. Now we've got a very erratic behaving metal detector with a bunch of false signals. So I would run that at 2, maybe 3, and then that way you don't have a bunch of mineralization problems. Now the next thing we can look at, now I want to also point out on the ORX you don't have audio response adjustments. I could be wrong, but I think that the ORX is probably set at 2, maybe 3, but I'm not sure. So next thing we got is sensitivity. The sensitivity is going to be another one of those things with mineralized ground. Highly mineralized ground, you're probably going to have to turn your sensitivity down. If you have less mineralized ground, you can turn the sensitivity up. But let me just show you the difference in responses on this target at different settings. So right now we're at 95. Pretty good response from that nugget. We go all the way up. We are getting a little bit unstable, but also increases the response from that nugget. Now let's just turn it down. Let's turn it down to 90. See what happens. Not as strong. So that's something that you're going to have to play with. Your mineralization in the ground is going to determine your setting on that. But the key is for the Deus and the ORX, you want the quietest running machine that you can get. So I'm running the HF coil. The highest it can go is 54 kilohertz. If you get the elliptical coil, that one can run up into the 80s as far as kilohertz is concerned, and it's going to be even more sensitive to small gold. The other thing about the elliptical coil is that you can get it into tighter places. You know, we've got bushes around here, you know, rocks and things that we might want to get around, and the elliptical coil can help in that regard as well. So that's kind of the settings that, you know, that I would go for as far as the Deus is concerned. If I'm looking for small gold, higher frequency, make the machine as stable as you can, so that when you're hunting around, you're not getting a bunch of false signals from mineralizations and such. So hopefully that information helps you out in the field. You know, most of the gold, a lot of the gold that's left is going to be small gold. I mean, realistically, that's probably what you're going to find. So you need to optimize your machine to find that small gold. You know, you hear about bigger nuggets being found from time to time, but you know, you need to be realistic when you come out into the field. You need to know the proper setup for your machine and how to set it up for the different ground conditions. And so hopefully this video helps you out with that. But I also wanted to say that it takes persistence to find gold nuggets. You know, you can hunt hours and hours and hours and not find anything. I've gone home many days empty-handed. Now, the other thing is, I would suggest, if you're in an area that you can find gold nuggets and it interests you, it might be hard to go out and find your first nugget. So what you can do is buy like a nugget on eBay, or you know, from a local shop or something like that, so you can practice with your machine. This little nugget that I showed you in that vial is one that I found years ago when I was gold panning, but I watch nuggets on eBay quite a bit. Sometimes, you know, they're low enough that I'll buy them, you know, if it looks like they're going to go below scrap. So that's something you can do. And then when you get one, you can take it out in your soil and bury it. You know, make sure you put it in a plastic bag or something so you can find it again. But bury it up and see how your machine reacts to it with the different settings, and how it reacts with the mineralization in your ground around you. So that's just a suggestion. You know, I'd encourage you to do it if you're interested. I did another video previous to this, if you want to look at it, where it tells you where you can go and find gold nuggets, or where you can start doing the research. You know, one of my suggestions was get on a club, get with a club. A lot of them have claims, or at least property that they can get on. So anyway, take that information, use it, and I hope you have success in the field. Thanks for watching.